is falling. The sky is falling.
It's Chicken Little all over again.
Oh no!
Wait, no, this is the real world. It's not Chicken Little.
Yeah.
Right.
This isn't Chicken Little.
But speaking about the real world, this is The Secret to Time Travel, episode 7, 8? Not sure.
7.
7? Okay. I wasn't sure, to be
7.
perfectly honest.
Neither. Let's go with it.
Yeah. And this week, we'll be talking about... that was me coughing instead of you. This week, we'll be talking about dystopias.
Ooh. Depressing.
Yes. Now, dystopias, you know what, instead of trying to explain it with my own words, I'm just gonna look this up real quick. Gonna go to the Google definition. Dystopia.
Google is,
It's just a way of ensuring you don't sound dumb, right? You know, you already know something, you just want to make sure what you already know is the real thing. Okay, so dystopia.
Dystopia.
Yeah, that was Google talking there. An imagined place or state in which everything is unpleasant or bad, typically a totalitarian or environmentally degraded one.
Now, let's ask ourselves, what is a totalitarian?
You want to know what totalitarian is?
Yes.
Okay, so again, this is something I can explain, but I'm just gonna go to Google just so that I mean, totalitarians, like, you know, stuff like oppressive states that control too much. But okay, instead of me trying to explain it, let's go back to Google. Totalitarian.
Totalitarian.
Google seems to alternate between men and women in pronouncing words. Anyway. Okay, so there's two totalitarian definitions, an adjective or a noun. The adjective means relating to a system of government that is centralized and dictatorial and requires complete subservience to the state.
Okay.
The noun is a person advocating a totalitarian system of government, so yeah. The adjective is the one people usually use. So basically Trump, just kidding.
So basically Trump. Okay. I was gonna say something along the lines of that, but you said it first.
Right, sorry. Yeah, but okay, when we're thinking about totalitarian states, think like the Soviet Union, and North Korea, things like that.
And Trump.
And what? And Trump, yes. And
and
Trump's
Trump.
America.
Trump America.
What? Trump America.
Trump America, exactly. He's gonna rename the whole thing, man. We're getting off topic.
Yes, we are getting off topic in classic fashion. So dystopias, right? Now, dystopias are a thing. They've been a thing for a long time. So we're going to be talking about different examples of dystopias that have existed throughout history and throughout time. Mostly fictional ones, because, calling anything that has happened in the past or anything that's happening now a dystopia is like... There's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time it's like people don't call it that. They call it something else.
They call it dictatorship.
Yes, exactly. Or a totalitarian system of government. Yeah, things like that. They don't use the word dystopia.
Dystopia.
So yeah, do you want to start first?
No, you know what? I was planning on you starting first. So.
Okay, all right. So to start off, we'll be talking about several forms of fiction. Whether it be TV shows, movies, or books. So we're not gonna hold back when it comes to spoilers for this podcast. So if you haven't read or haven't watched something and you really feel like you don't want to get it spoiled, you can just fast forward a little bit, and then wait until we stop talking about said thing. But before we talk about something, we'll just say what it is we're gonna talk about, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start things off with the classic. The most famous example of dystopia, potentially, maybe, depends who you are, and that's George Orwell's 1984, a book published in 1948. I've always found that funny.
Okay.
Okay, so George Orwell, a little bit of background on the author. He was a dude who was involved in the Spanish Civil War, and he really hated the Soviet Union, and he only like made two books, which was Animal Farm in 1984, and so he really hated the Soviets. Like he really hated the Soviets. Both of his books are criticisms of the Soviet Union and the Russian Revolution. I guess Animal Farm is a criticism of the Russian Revolution more so.
Okay.
And so, where am I going with this? Right. So anyway, so 1984. Sorry about that. 1984 is about a guy named Winston Smith who lives in Oceania, the state of Oceania, let's say. And in the world of 1984, there are only three that's nations. Let's call it nations: Oceania, East Asia, and Eurasia. I'm not going to explain the geography of those three states because it's kind of complicated. But basically, there's only three states, and these three nations are in a state of constant war against each other. It's a three-sided war, and alliances are broken and made every few days. Probably, I don't really remember. I read the book last year. But basically, this the dystopia of 1984, the dystopia of Oceania, is an extremely totalitarian form of government. There is no freedom. There's secret police, and a bunch of crazy bad things happen. Basically, people are seen as tools of the state. People will raise kids, right, and the kids will be given the propaganda, the state propaganda, and they will become kind of spies for the government. Kids will rat on their own parents.
Kids will rat on their... Okay.
Yeah, in 1984. What else is there? And then there's three kind of I forget the word they use for it, but there's three kind of philosophies. The name of the ideology in Oceania is Ingsoc, which is like it's a Newspeak. I'll get to Newspeak later, but basically Newspeak is a language in the book. And Ingsoc is basically it stands for English socialism kind of. And the principles of Ingsoc are kind of like this. So I don't want to misquote these. So
Okay.
I'm gonna Google this real quickly because I don't want to get this wrong.
Okay.
But there's three things. Yeah, you were saying?
Can I just mention the Oceania thing that you were talking about, right? The dystopian society in that book.
Yeah.
It's a lot like one of the ones that I was going to talk about, which was the one in Half-Life 2. It's basically the same thing, actually.
Really?
So, yeah.
All right.
Secret police. Everyone's being oppressed. Hold on. God dang it.
Well, you can add some other stuff after this.
Yeah, but except for just human police, it's aliens.
Aliens, even worse.
Aliens.
Or is it worse?
Even
I don't
worse.
know. I don't know. Depends who you ask.
I mean, they do other stuff, which I guess I'm going to talk about in my thing.
Yeah. All right. So the three principles of the three kind of philosophy thingies that, again, I forget how it's described, is war is peace. That's the first one. The second one is freedom is slavery, and the third one is ignorance is strength. Now, I remember reading the part where all of this is explained in the book, and my gosh, that was probably one of the best 20 pages of reading I've ever done, because these three things, these three statements, they show up relatively early in the book, and of course they don't make sense. When someone says war is peace, it's contradictory. It's double speak. Double think. To use a Newspeak term. So and Newspeak is basically how the government in 1984, they're trying to take away words from the English language so that they can take away certain words that have certain meanings from the language. So words like oppressive, for example, probably wouldn't exist in Newspeak. So language obviously is how we communicate with other people. If there's no word for the particular thing you want to say, you can't communicate it. And, you know, if there's no communication, then you can't really form some revolution against the government, because you would have no way of knowing other people feel the same way as you, because there's no way of communicating that feeling. So that's another thing they do. They limit speech. They're trying to take away speech, more so, and also you can't do it with people. You can't do it with people. Yeah, you cannot have relations with people. Unless your intention is to not unless the intention cannot be to have pleasure, basically. If you do it for the purpose of pleasure, then like that's against the law, and you will be taken to room 101, or is it room 101? Gosh, it's been a year since I read this. I should remember, but basically they'll torture you and stuff. They'll kill you. But if you want to just have a kid, you know, and a kid who's gonna serve the state, then that's fine.
A kid that's gonna serve the state, that's okay.
Yeah, and eventually rat on you because, you know, you don't really like the government.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Hello?
Yeah.
Am I still connected? Okay.
Yeah, you are.
I thought my internet kind of blew out. So
that's pretty much all I'm gonna say for 1984.
Well, okay. So is it my turn now? Oh gosh,
sure,
what's happening? Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna start talking about Half-Life 2, which, if any of you haven't played this game, it's actually a pretty good game. I haven't finished it yet, but so far, you know, it's really good, story-wise, gameplay-wise, and other stuff. I don't think, David, I don't think you'd like the game because you're, you know, you like other kinds of games.
Okay.
I still haven't pinned down what kind of games. I guess you've been getting into battle.
I basically like the kind of games where you don't need to play.
What?
I mean,
like Temple.
Well, no, I mean just stuff that doesn't take a lot of commitment. Stuff that has like games that are simplistic, I guess. Let's just put it at that.
Simplistic games, okay. Yeah, this isn't a simplistic game. Okay, so the society in Half-Life is, as I said before, very similar to the one that you just mentioned, but I would like to add a few things, such as, remember when you said you weren't allowed to have, you weren't allowed to do the do for pleasure purposes?
Should we come up with a term for that?
What?
You weren't
for doing the do?
Yeah. Let's come up with another term that we're just always gonna use.
Sticking it to him.
Sticking it. Sticking it to the man.
Sticking it to the man.
Let's just use
okay.
that. Yeah. It's a little weird. Yeah, maybe it doesn't really quite make sense, but okay.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very sick. Okay. So when you said they can't stick it to the man for pleasure and only for reproductive purposes.
Yeah.
Well, in this dystopian society, they won't let you reproduce, basically.
Okay.
So, yeah, basically you can have sex. It's like you can try, but they basically put like this thing in the air that how do I explain it? It's
like genital force fields.
What?
Genital
no.
force fields? Is it like the thing in Scary Movie?
What?
Is it like the thing in Scary Movie, like I forget her name. Anna Faris's character in Scary Movie, is it like that?
No, it's not genital force fields, goddammit.
Okay.
You can't try, but like there's a thing. It is a force field, but it's not in your genitals, Jesus Christ.
Okay.
It's something like that, but like it doesn't let you have a baby, pretty much. It just makes you infertile.
So okay, so it's just like magical midichlorian contraception.
I don't know what you just said. But let's go with it.
Is it like magical midichlorian contraception?
It is exactly that.
Okay. Magical midichlorian contraception. Okay, nice.
And much more. Okay. Gosh. Other than that, they also, do human experimentation and stuff. And they also like to torture people for fun, which I think was one of yours as well, right?
Well, they don't torture people for fun. I mean, they torture people because they need to.
They need to, right. That was your thing, but in Half-Life, they just kind of do it when they feel like it. They don't care
right.
what they've done in the past or like what they're gonna do. They just do it when they feel
like police officers on a power trip kind of thing.
Yeah, like police officers on a power trip kind of thing. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I have witnessed people die in front of me because of this police brutality. Not really in the game. I'm talking about in the game, not in real life.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were talking about real life. If it's in the game, it's okay.
If it's in the game, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can witness police brutality in the game, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
If it's in real life,
that's good.
Huh?
In fact, it's good.
In fact, it's good?
Yeah.
Police brutality in games is good?
Yeah.
Why? No.
Because it teaches us the right thing.
Yeah, okay, I can kind of see what I don't know what you're saying.
You can kind of see what, looking at police brutality in games, it teaches us the right thing. I can see your point.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I was just messing around. I was joking.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, continue, yeah.
Okay, actually, you know what, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Other than that, it's exactly the same as yours.
Alright. Okay, well, okay.
So there is no ruler, though. There is just like an ambassador of Earth.
So he's the ruler.
He's in charge. Aliens are.
Oh.
But he is
so he's like a puppet ruler.
He's just a guy who he's just a guy who basically talks in the speaker.
Right, so he's like a puppet ruler. He's like a puppet. He's a figurehead.
He's a puppet ruler, yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting. Well, in Half-Life 2, maybe you can't stick it to the man, but in Brave New World, that's all they want you to do.
Oh God.
Okay, maybe it's not all they want you to do, but they definitely encourage you to stick it to the man. In Brave New World.
Right.
Alright, so Brave New World and 1984. These two books, highly, maybe not controversial because everyone kind of agrees that both of the books have a good point, but there's a lot of debate, about between 1984 and Brave New World. Which one is a better reflection on how our society truly is, right?
Yeah.
And to understand the debate, I'm going to have to explain Brave New World first. To explain Brave New World, it's like this. Everyone was born in a test tube.
Heck? Okay.
Okay, so basically in Brave New World, there's no reproduction, like Half-Life 2. But everyone is born in like test tubes, like test tube babies, like that concept. That's how everyone is born, and everyone is genetically modified from birth.
Oh God.
Into a caste system.
Into a caste system, right?
Yeah. So I forget the castes. I think there were 4 castes, and within the caste there's also some minor segregation, although it's not that big. But basically, there's 4 classes, and since I don't remember the name, although I do think it's alpha, beta, like that, but I don't quite remember, so I'm just gonna use just gonna use numbers, right? So the highest class, obviously they have the highest social standing, and they basically are not genetically modified at all, almost. And they are like the peak of society. Basically, they have the best athleticism. They're the smartest people. They've been given every genetic advantage. whereas the people in the other three castes have been genetically modified so that they are not as advanced intellectually, physically, in every way. They're not as advanced as the people in the highest caste.
They're not as advanced as the people in the highest caste.
I mean, they're not as good, quote unquote good.
Oh, okay.
The people in the highest caste are genetically superior because that's how they were engineered.
Right.
From birth, you know. And they achieve this by putting alcohol in the blood surrogate of the fetuses of people.
What?
They achieve this by, I'm so sorry, but could you move your phone away because it's pretty loud.
Hello?
Yeah. No, your phone's it's kind of like cutting off your mic at times.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. Is this better? Can you hear me now?
I mean, yeah, but I can still hear your phone like a lot.
Gosh. I wonder if I can actually stop the vibration somehow. I don't
think you can unless you, I don't know, put it on do not disturb or something and just stand by it. Or not stand by it, I don't know if that's the word.
There is no do not disturb thing. Continue.
Okay.
We're getting off topic with my phone.
Alright, okay. I mean, I felt like it was a bit of a distraction. Okay. I mean, potentially to the viewers, please leave us feedback if it bothers you. If not, then we'll just move on.
Please dislike.
No, don't do that. Just leave a comment.
If it bothers you.
Just leave a comment.
Please comment. And dislike your own comment.
Or contact us directly at www.asus sounds like an alien but it's actually a computer brand.com at gmail.com.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You can send us an email there if you think if it's bothering you. Okay, back to Brave New World. So there's a caste system and so they achieve the segregation by basically putting alcohol in the blood surrogate of the fetuses when they're being manufactured, let's say. So people in the lowest caste, it's because they were given a lot of alcohol, so the fetus has a lot of issues and so they kind of end up being retarded.
Oh god. Okay.
Yeah.
Could we use another word just to avoid triggering people?
Okay. They end up being retarded sounds good.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't come up with another word. I'm sorry. That's the only word I can think of to explain it.
Easy-minded.
Oh no. Well, that's. I'm actually. That probably. Yeah. That probably works. Yeah. So there's a social segregation between the castes. It's not illegal to spend time with people of a lower or higher caste. It's just kind of looked down upon, and it's potentially a bit of a red flag. So the government might look at you and be like, oh well, why are you spending so much time with all these people who are in a different class than you? And so that's basically that. But okay, and this is a really interesting thing about Brave New World, right? If depending on who you ask, some people might not even call it a dystopia. Some people even would call it a utopia.
A utopia.
Yeah, because this is a society where you can basically do anything you want. You can do anything you want, and they give everyone drugs called soma, and they encourage you to take the drugs anytime you want, and they encourage you to stick it to the man with anyone and at any time you want. They encourage these things. It's not just that they're allowed, but they encourage these things. In fact, they even give propaganda to make people want to do these things.
Okay.
Yeah, and to the point where if you didn't want to do these things, you would be weird. You would be seen as like a weird person. And one of the characters in the book, actually, when someone kind of tried to explain the concept of how shall I put it, morality and not being let's use the word whore. so one of the characters trying to explain to a woman, like, you can't just, like, you know, stick it to the man with whoever. And she, you know, she was totally turned off by the idea. It made her feel sick, if I remember correctly, because the propaganda goes so deep. It's so deeply entrenched in the mind. You know, but other than that, you can do anything you want. You really can do anything you want. And you're given all this entertainment. You know, it's when you're comparing Brave New World to 1984, people will say in 1984 you're not given any information, whereas in Brave New World you're given so much useless information you don't care about the real important information.
Okay.
As an example to give is, like, you know, sometimes people get really caught up in random facts. Like, I don't know, I'm a person who knows a lot of random facts, so I might be one of these people. But you know, you get caught up with knowing a lot of useless information, and you know, you think you're clever because of that, but really you don't actually know anything. And that's just kind of, it's not necessarily that someone is intentionally doing it, but it serves that function. You don't really start to think about the world because you're caught up with knowledge that is already known.
Right. Okay.
Like, you know, like, it's like someone who knows math really, really well, and so they think they're the smartest person ever. But then when you ask them a subjective question, to do with, you know, it could be anything. You know, it could be like, oh, what are your views on this? You know, and they can't really formulate their own opinion because they're used to dealing with absolutes. And as they say, only the Sith deal with absolutes. I'm not a Star Wars fan. I don't know why I said that.
Well, neither am I. I mean, I do watch the movies, but I don't know where that's from. I know it's from Star Wars, but I don't know which movie.
Yeah, it's probably from the prequels, but I don't know which one.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that's all I'm gonna say about Brave New World, basically. But yeah.
That's all.
Oh, here's okay. And another thing, in 1984, if you don't kind of follow the rules, you'll be tortured and you'll be killed. Whereas in Brave New World, if you don't follow the societal guidelines and you're seen as an outcast, you get sent to an island. Away from it all, where other outcasts live, other people who think like you live.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens in
Brave
New World.
What?
So okay, say for example you're living in this world, this Brave New World. You say you're living in the dystopia of Brave New World, and you're thinking, wait, but I don't think it's fair that people, you know, I don't think it's right that we all have drugs every other hour. Or I don't think it's right that we stick it to the man with any man that we see on the street. Or I don't think it's right that people have their intelligence and their physical abilities determined at birth for no particular reason. Then, and you think it's wrong and you start speaking out against it. Obviously the government doesn't like that. So but instead of killing you, what they do is they send you away to an island filled with a bunch of other people who think the way you do, and you can live in a society that you want. In a, let's say, in a society that is not a dystopia, quote unquote.
A utopia.
Not necessarily a utopia, but a world more like ours, the one that we actually live in.
A dystopia.
Okay, all right, you get the point.
Yeah, I get the point. Gosh. Okay.
Which is why some people think it's actually utopia, but yeah, it's up to your own interpretation, I suppose.
It's up to your. No, what were you saying?
No, I mean that's why some people might think Brave New World is a utopia and not a dystopia, because even if you disagree with the society, you're allowed to leave society and join the society of outcasts.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. So, right. So, are you done with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, now, I want to talk about an episode in this show called Black Mirror.
Oh, okay.
Was it Black? Yes, it was Black Mirror. This is a very good show. Blew my mind twice. This episode is called 15 Million Merits. Is it 15 million or 5 million merits? Pretty sure it's 15 million merits, right? So this episode basically follows a guy named Booker or something. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to open up the wiki here.
I mean, his name isn't important.
Okay, it follows this African-American friend. No, his name was Brooker, okay. Brooker. This world is basically like from what we see, it's like an endless cycle. You get up, you go to work, and work is basically just bicycle. Like, how do I... You know those exercise machines?
Mm-hmm.
Like the bicycle ones? I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get it.
The stationary bicycles,
those machines... Huh?
The stationary bicycles, yeah.
Yeah, the stationary bicycles, yeah. That's basically their job. And for every pedal, I guess, you get 1 merit point. And with those merit points, you can get to buy items for your virtual character in, I guess, a game? No, it's not a game, but it's like you in virtual reality. Like, you can customize yourself. Like, nothing you buy other than food is real. And I mean, other than food and your house and water is real. All the items, everything is all virtual. So, like, this guy kind of got sick of it. He didn't really buy anything other than food or water for himself, you know? Mm-hmm. So, like, one day, he met this girl. He met this girl, right? So, like, he heard her sing, and he instantly thought, like, this was the most real thing that he's ever, heard in his life. Because this... I'm bad at explaining this.
Man, it's like the first time I heard Carly Rae Jepsen.
Carly Rae Jepsen, why? Okay.
Dude, Call Me Maybe is the best song ever. Okay. Continue.
No, I can disagree.
Okay.
Alright, so... Gosh. Okay. Done coughing. So, basically, there's this, there's this show, something like American Idol, where it's like, instead of being, the best at whatever you do at the end of the thing, you either get hired by one of the, I guess, the showmen? I don't know what they are. Hold on. The producers get hired by one of the producers or just walk away. So this girl is a good singer, right? So one ticket to enter that show costs 15 million merit points, which the guy does have because apparently his uncle passed away a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just explaining the episode now. I should be explaining more about the world. Well, I guess this is kind of explaining the world as well, right?
Okay.
Like, this counts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, yeah. So it costs 15 million merits. So after that, he buys a ticket for her. I'm not going to spoil the rest of the episode. It's just that's pretty much it. He buys her the ticket. Stuff goes wrong. I don't want to spoil everything, but basically... Wait, hold on. You talk about stuff. I need to go do something first.
You're gonna go?
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad's calling.
You have what?
My dad's calling. Hold on.
Okay, alright. Well, as you can see, we're still 16-year-olds. Sometimes we have responsibilities. And those responsibilities do not include sticking it to the man. Anyway, moving on. We're 34 minutes here. We're probably gonna have to end it soon anyway. But okay, so since he's gone in the middle of explaining that, I'll go on to the third thing, and I assume the last thing I guess I'm gonna talk about. I did want to. Okay, first of all, honorable mention to The Dead Past by Isaac Asimov. It's not really a dystopia, but it has one dystopic concept in it that when I read that short story by Isaac Asimov, my copy of the short story is around 60 pages. When I read it, and it was the first thing I had read in a long, long time, and it was the first serious thing I ever read that was like, it was a proper serious book one might even call literature. First time I had read literature, and that it just blew my mind. The idea expressed in this book, especially towards the end, was just mind blowing. So really, really shout out to that story if anyone's interested. It's basically just a brief premise is that it's about a historian who wants to know about something that happened a long time ago, in like the ancient era, ancient Egypt. I think it was. I think it had to do with ancient Egypt. I don't remember. He wanted to know something about it, and he was trying to look into a specific field in physics that could potentially allow you to look back in time, and that he was interested in that basically. So it's about that, and him and a certain a physics professor that he knew, and their struggles to basically invent that machine. Okay, so yeah, that's a premise of the Dead Past. Okay, but I am going to talk about Fahrenheit 451, completing the big three when it comes to dystopia novels. Some might refer to it as the big three of dystopia novels. Fahrenheit 451, written by Ray Bradbury, famous poet, famous author. I forgot to mention the author of Brave New World is Aldous Huxley. Are you back, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I just came back.
All right.
Okay.
So Fahrenheit 451, written by Ray Bradbury. In Fahrenheit 451, we follow a group of firemen. That's right, you heard me, firemen. But their job is not to put out fires. Rather, their job is to start fires. Specifically, their job is to burn books. Because in this society, all books are banned. Regardless of what the book is about, it's banned and it has to be burned.
Okay.
And I mean, okay, well, out of the three dystopia novels, Fahrenheit 451 is my least favorite. That doesn't take away from how good it is. It is a very good book, and it's also not very long either. My copy is 200 pages. It's a really good book. I mean, it's about this guy who is a fireman, and he starts to kind of question why they are burning books. Why are they trying to kind of take away knowledge from people? And in this society, like, everyone is kind of caught up on entertainment, things like radio, TV, although the specific technology in the book was kind of something similar to a holodeck in Star Trek.
Okay.
And they were caught up in these forms of entertainment, and these forms of entertainment had characters in it, characters that didn't offend people. I mean, the whole idea of why books were banned and they started to get burned wasn't because the government was trying to censor knowledge. It was more so because people, I mean society at large, were getting offended by differing views, and they didn't want to hear differing views. They didn't want to be corrected. They didn't want to learn other opinions. Basically, they didn't want to be contradicted, and so because of that, books started to get burnt and knowledge started to be suppressed, not because of the government, but because of society.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, and there's also a passage. There was a post on Reddit on r/books the other day. A passage from Fahrenheit 451 that was also similar to the overload of information that you see in Brave New World, and it was basically about how the guy on Reddit, right, he said an interesting thing. He said that ever since he read Fahrenheit 451, he couldn't watch quiz shows on TV or trivia shows.
What?
Do you ask why?
Okay. Yeah.
So the reason was because in the passage in Fahrenheit 451, basically Ray Bradbury says, a lot of people, and it's similar to the thing I said just now, that a lot of people, they fill their mind with useless bits of trivia, and they think they're smart and enlightened because of that. When in reality, it's actually them blinding themselves from the higher truths, and the more important things. You can read all you want about what's a random fact? Let me think. Bees are important. That's not a random fact.
Bees are important.
Bees are important, no doubt. as seen in the as seen in the Black Mirror episode Hated in the Nation.
I have not watched that episode.
That's a good episode. That's another good episode. But what's around? I don't know. Just like facts in general, like just interesting things that. Okay, what's an interesting thing you've read recently? Interesting thing that you learned recently.
Recently?
Yeah. Or whenever.
Oh, whenever, right. I have learned that a Galaxy Note can survive 12 hours in ice without any damage.
Okay. I mean, alright, so you know an iPhone can survive 12 hours in ice without damage?
Not iPhone, Galaxy.
Galaxy Note. I don't know why I heard iPhone.
Galaxy.
Galaxy S7 was it?
Yeah, Galaxy S7.
Okay, yeah. So like you basically fill your mind with all this information, all these random bits of trivia, all these random facts, and then like it kind of it leaves you feeling bloated. I think that's the right term to use. The same way how you eat a bunch of junk food that's bad for you and you feel bloated, when in reality it's bad for you.
Yeah.
And you're doing yourself harm. So it's similar to that. You fill your mind with a bunch of information that, it may be interesting, it may be cool, but it leaves you with this sense of feeling bloated, that like, oh, I'm smart, I'm an intellectual person, when you actually might not be, and it's a scary thing to think about. I'm sure a lot of people think that they're right about something. I mean, I think everyone has at some point felt very, very strongly that they're right about one particular thing, but then the idea that you might be wrong is scary.
Yeah. Fear. That should be our next thing.
Yeah, no, that's right. Fear. We should talk about that.
Yeah, that should be our next topic. Just saying.
Yeah. Low key. Or maybe high key. Who knows?
Low key or high key fear. It's fear itself.
Oh, anyway, I'm done talking about Fahrenheit 451. We're at 42 minutes. If you want to add anything at this point, then you can. Not gonna stop you.
Weren't we supposed to talk about our own personal?
We were, but we were explaining things. I mean, I especially was explaining things for a long time.
Exactly.
Okay, we can do that quickly.
Yeah, sure. You go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. Well, for me, it's our actual world. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna be cliche like that. I'm not gonna be cliche
Donald
like that.
Trump.
No. No. To me, right, the scariest idea for me, I guess, is that maybe. I think Brave New World, to me, the idea, not the whole thing maybe, but yeah, the one idea in Brave New World that everyone is a test tube baby, and who you are, your intellectual capacity and your physical abilities are determined at birth for no particular reason, and you're put in a caste because of that. That idea to me is the worst. Like, it's unbelievable to me, that idea that before you're born, someone can basically determine the course of your life because of that, because of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So mine is actually like, okay. You know the game Fallout? Yeah. Basically, mine is like, what if a nuclear war did break out?
Very possible.
Very possible. And I don't think vaults will be possible though. I don't know. So like years and years later, humanity starts to rebuild itself, but they're all mutated, in all this weird way because of all the radiation and shit. People can't get born, properly. They won't have proper babies. They might have a weird third eye, might have cancer. I don't know. Radiation poisoning.
Right.
It's everywhere. Fallout. It's basically the world of Fallout.
Yeah, you don't want You don't want the nuclear war to spring up, basically.
Which is actually very possible because
it's very possible. Because of Trump. I'm just kidding again. I'm kidding, but not really kidding, but also kidding at the same time.
No, you were right though.
Yeah.
No, you were right though, because Trump and Kim Jong-un, I think, have been poking fun at each other.
No.
Not poking fun, I mean...
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. No, you're right.
No, yeah, they've been, like, poking each other.
You know? On Facebook.
On Facebook, exactly.
Yeah.
And Kim Jong-un doesn't like poking on Facebook, and he finds it annoying.
He finds it annoying, exactly. Be reasonable.
Exactly. And then, because of that, he built the Continental Ballistic Missiles.
Yeah.
to bomb America.
Oh, at least we're safe knowing we're not in America.
I mean, they could change their mind since Malaysia was one of the places where his brother was killed.
Nah. We probably shouldn't talk about that because he's gonna listen to this. He'll be like, "Why are they talking about us?"
Mr. Jong, you are a very nice, chubby child. Please don't kill us. We are not Malaysian, we are European.
Okay.
European.
All right. Okay. I think we've said it all. By the way, I didn't get to talk about the dead past, so I mean, you now don't have it spoiled for you, so you can read it now. Without knowing what happens, yeah. Because I didn't get to talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's cool, I guess.
Alright. So, any last words then for this podcast? Last statement, closing statements?
Nuclear winter's a lie!
Okay. My closing statements are: Ist auch ein Berliner, I am a jelly donut.